Welcome everyone to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. Did you love Outriders? I guess not a whole lot of other people did, because according to the studio behind Outriders, they have yet to receive any royalties, which basically should tell you that the game hasn't even broken even for them yet. Their publishing company yet. And they're about to have an expansion come out soon. I think end of June, World Slayers will be coming out. And yet this game still has not even broken even for the publisher. That doesn't bode well for these guys, you know. I think Square Enix is having a hard time, right? Being a publisher, being anything, right? They backed this game. The Square Enix backed this game. And now they didn't get their money. They didn't get their money's worth yet. And now there's already a major expansion coming out. This game has been out for over a year now, and they've yet to break even. So I don't know what they thought the game was going to do. I'm thinking they were banking on this becoming the next Destiny 2, right? That it's going to have all this microtransaction. And to be honest with you, Nick and I beat the game. We played a little bit of the after game, if you will, the end game of it. And the end game was very repetitive and boring, so we didn't stick through it. And then, you know, Shane played it. I don't know if you ever beat it or not.
Close, but not yet.
All right. And I think Russ may have beaten it or gotten close to it as well. But, you know, Nick and I just basically rushed all the content. And then once it was done, we were like, okay, what do we do? Let's try this end game stuff. And I'm like, it's kind of meh. But, you know, so it didn't seem to go, where they wanted to, because Square Enix had said that they had a good amount of engagement numbers at launch. So a good amount of people that were wanting to play it. I think they mentioned 3.5 million unique players in the first month. And they attributed that to basically Game Pass too, right? Because this game came day one to Game Pass, which is where we got it from. They thought that it was going to become a major franchise for them, but I think they're just banking on that it's a Destiny 2 type game, a games of service game is what they were banking on, I think. That might have been part of the reason why they agreed to bring it to Game Pass. I don't know how much money they got from Microsoft to be able to be a day one game on Game Pass, but to be honest with you, I think this is just my opinion that the game didn't get the pre-sale numbers that they were hoping for, so that's why they basically released it to Game Pass, so they can get some money, more money than they were getting from pre-sales. And then they were hoping those people would stick around and buy their microtransactions, you know, their in-game currency and things like that. So basically, Square Enix is at this point saying that Outriders didn't give them enough money to recover the costs and expenses incurred by Square Enix. So the game itself hasn't made enough money to repay the promoter, if you will. So... And a year later, I don't know, I can't remember, is the expansion, do you guys know if the expansion is going to be free or is it a paid for expansion?
I believe it's a paid DLC.
Paid DLC, which makes sense, right? I doubt it'll come to Game Pass. Most of the time Game Pass doesn't get expansion. So if if the game, if you want to play the game, you would have to buy the expansion. I mean, it was an enjoyable enough game. We were slated to buy it as a group before it went to Game Pass, because I had to cancel my pre-order because it came to like Game Pass like really close to the release date. They were the game was basically going to be a pay game. That was the only way you were going to get it. And then all of a sudden we got the announcement that it was coming to Game Pass, so I had to cancel my pre-order. There's no point in pre-ordering if I'm going to get it. Get it on that. So yeah, it looks like the game's going to be like $35 or something for the World Slayer upgrade. So it's not going to be free. So hopefully they're banking that they're going to be a little bit more money for that. I don't think I'm coming back for the expansion. I mean, I don't know if the group wants to play, maybe, but that would be a decision that we'd have to make as a group. Nick, what about you, man? What do you think about Outriders not basically breaking even for Square Enix? The developer, People Can Fly, that I guess they hyped this up to Square Enix enough and didn't get their money's worth, what Square Enix didn't. What do you think? Are you going to come back for the World Slayer expansion? And what do you think about them not making enough money yet?
For the World Slayer, I might. Depends on you guys. If we want to play through World Slayer, then yeah, I'll pick it up and we'll play through it. It makes sense, Destiny. Destiny is a good game, and I feel like Bungie kind of with Destiny. Um, I don't know. In a sense, I feel like they kind of fell into this money pit that they did, right? Um, and they created something well enough that, because trust us, or trust me when I say Destiny does have its fair share of issues and problems, but they did enough to it to really entice players to stick around. And I think Outriders just doesn't have that it just doesn't have that whatever Destiny has, right? Whatever it is some sort of formula, or maybe it's that kind of open world formula that Destiny has. Well, Outriders does have open world environments. It's a really linear type of story arc, right? I think there were like side missions and stuff like that, but it's really just this kind of you're following the main story of the game, and that's really it. Whereas Destiny does have a main story, but there's so many, you're just kind of thrown into an area with an objective, but there's so many places to go and see, and there's dungeons and it's almost like Destiny's kind of like an MMO in a way, right? Whereas Outriders is more of a cooperative single player story driven experience, so it's not quite the same thing. And I think people were kind of wanting a Destiny type of game, but what they really got was that single player experience, that cooperative single player game, and where they're like, it's not quite meeting the expectations. You can't pull those Destiny players. You may have pulled some to it, but as soon as they figured out what it was, they just went right back to Destiny. So it's unfortunate, because I think the game could have done really well. And I think the game it's an okay game. There were a few times where I thought it was pretty fun, and there was some times where I thought it was tedious. It had some good things going for it. And I do agree that Game Pass probably helped it out quite a bit. I think if they didn't do Game Pass, it probably wouldn't have an expansion coming out, I would say. Right. But as far as Square Enix goes, man, they have been just shooting themselves in the foot multiple times recently. They have made bad decision after bad decision. They decided Avengers was going to, they're going to throw Avengers on a pedestal and tell Guardians of the Galaxy that, oh, well, sorry guys, you better luck next time. You didn't make a great game, when it's like the complete opposite. Babylon's Fall, they're like, look at this. And everyone goes, yeah, that's a nice pile of crap you have there. And so, and then they're like, yeah, we're going to keep on it. And it's like, no, don't just cut away the ties, because you've already made crap. Just leave it there so someone else can pick it up. What are you doing, Square Enix? Like, you make some awesome games. We got Final Fantasy 16 getting close to coming out. You got Forspoken, which I'm still kind of on the fence about. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to like that game or not. But I'm really excited for Final Fantasy 16. But I don't know. I don't know if Forspoken's being made in-house by Square Enix. Now, granted, they did publish these other games that I'm talking about, Babylon's Fall and Outriders. So they are just publishing in that. But even their publishing arm is having a hard time getting some really good games to publish under their belt. And sticking with ones that they really shouldn't, I feel like. So I don't know what they're doing recently. They really need to turn their ship around, or, I could see possibly, if they can't get things turned around, I can see possibly Square Enix as a whole being sold off to somebody to buy, being acquired by someone. I hope that doesn't happen. We've talked about this before, but I'm getting tired of all these acquisitions that are going on. Like, I like the PlayStation, and I like the Xbox, and I like the Nintendo, and I like all that stuff, but I don't want Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo or whatever to own every studio under known to man. I want a lot of studios to be self-published and just kind of not owned.
Free agents.
Yeah, free agents, so they can be out on everything, so that everyone can enjoy them. You don't have to get this console or that. For us, it's not a problem because we own it all. But for those who can't, I would like for them to be able to enjoy a game that Square Enix puts out that's on all platforms. But we'll have to see what happens. Right now, they're not acquired, right? But it could happen. And the way it's going right now, that's very possible. What about you, Shane? What do you think?
I think Outriders is a good game. Not a great game, but it's a good game. I agree with you. The Game Pass is what really helped it. It definitely helped get its name out there a little bit more. What really hurt that game is the beta. The last beta that we jumped into was not good. It was not fun. It was broken, and it put a lot of people off. So I imagine that hurt them as well. People can fly. Their main when you think of People Can Fly, the game that you associate is Bulletstorm. Bulletstorm, if you have not played it, is phenomenal. Stupid ass fun. I love that game. I've played through it multiple times. It's fantastic. They did a remaster. It's just a great freaking game. The gameplay of Outriders is good. It's really good. It's not great, but it's definitely better than a lot of shooters you get in this genre. The story is fine. It's not bad. It's just fine. But I think Nick's right. If people expecting Destiny, they didn't get it. I don't know if People Can Fly were going for a Destiny. I really don't, because it feels like yes and it feels like no. World design is Destiny-esque, but in a much smaller scale. Storylines for the side objectives and things like that, they were, kind of generic, do this, do that, find this, find that, talk to this, talk to that, so I'm honestly surprised that the game is done as well as it has to get a DLC of this type, of this size, because apparently the DLC is supposed to be pretty good size. So I'm on board if you guys are on board for that. But I got to get the main game finished up. I wished I don't know who's doing this to the games. It seems like lately people are just making stupider and stupider choices when it comes to these games. Square Enix, Ubisoft, EA, Activision, all of them. It's like, how can we screw this up more until we can get our stuff sold? And I'm wondering if that's it. They screw things up so they can get people to be interested and to buy their crap. To purchase the company myself, because they're making dumb decisions. I don't know if it's Square Enix that, hey, we want this to be like Destiny, so I want you to change this, and this, or we won't publish it. I don't know. I just know there's a lot of things that don't feel right. They don't feel like anything like Bulletstorm, and that was an amazing game.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what their plans was for Outriders, right? Because they made it a loot shooter, and the game has no microtransactions. That's when I mentioned earlier. I just meant that's what I thought they were going for when they first came out. But the game has no microtransactions, so how they anticipated this game to continue to make money is beyond me. If it didn't make money within the first 6 months, were they hoping that when it goes on sale for half off or whatever, that it was going to continue to draw more people in? A co-op game is usually really popular when it first comes out because it's co-op. You bring your friends along with you. You guys play it at the same time. Doesn't mean that people don't go back and play it. But what it means is that usually your revenue is seen, the majority of your ever evolving revenue is going to be seen in the first quarter, first half a year, or even your first year of the game is out. So I don't know if they're hoping that this expansion is going to push them over the edge, because in the article they say that People Can Fly was expecting to get a first residual or royalty check this month, and they didn't get anything because the game is yet to break even. If your game hasn't broken even in a year, are you expecting it to keep bringing in revenue for a non-game to service game after that initial sales bump? Because, I guess people still do buy games, but once they go on sale that first time and go half off, you're going to get another bump. But after that, you're not going to get a substantial amount of money from people. It's not like, I'm not. It's not like it's going to go on sale for $10 and you're going to get a whole brand new big swath of people in it. I mean, I don't see that happening, and that's usually a couple years down the road when a game goes that cheap. $5, $10 bin. So I was thinking when this game came out, they're going to hook you with the no micro. We're not doing microtransactions or loot boxes, but then they're going to get 6 months down the road and pull an EA on us and be like, we're introducing legendary content, which now has, but that never happened. They never did any of that, as far as I'm aware, because I haven't been back to the game since we beat it. But I think there's still no microtransactions in the game, and so they're just still running the game as a buy one time and continue to play. So I don't know how they expected to generate revenue over and over and over. Being a non-games of service with no loot boxes, no microtransactions. I mean, you have 3.5 million players. How many of those were from Game Pass? So you aren't making any additional money on them unless there's some type of contractual thing from Microsoft and Square Enix that says, we'll bring it to Game Pass and you get the first 1 million subscribers for free. And then once you surpass 1 million downloads or 1 million unique playables, we get X percentage from you. I don't know what that would be, but I don't know what their contracts look like. So there could be something like that. There could not be. So I don't understand how they expected a year later the game to start making them money finally.
Yeah, it's rough seeing that because People Can Fly, I think, are very talented. I think, let's see, uh, Bulletstorm was that just published? That was just straight published by Epic, if I remember right. Because Cliff Blazinski was like, "Oh my God, you got to check these guys out," and he really pumped them up for Bulletstorm. And I absolutely love Bulletstorm. So the fact that they're hurting sucks, and the fact that they went to Square Enix of all people for this type of game seems really odd too. Square Enix is trying to broaden themselves, which is perfectly fine. They can't just stay in the Tomb Raider Final Fantasy world forever. But it seemed like an odd coupling. So I'm thinking there's a lot of contractual stuff that's probably what's really hurting them. I mean, the game probably didn't sell great, um, but yeah, I definitely think there was a contractual stuff between, what Game Pass ever they did with it, what Square Enix probably made them do or change. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I loved about the game is I didn't have anything pop up. Hey, buy this, and your butt will look like glitter. I mean, it's none of that, and I love that because I hate microtransactions. It's disgusting. So live on the laurels of the quality of your game, not the extra crap you try to milk off of it. So, but
Yeah,
that's me.
now the problem I see too, especially with their expansion, is like, who are you going to bring back for that expansion? You're going to bring back about half the players that played it initially, right? Those on Game Pass, and even if this expansion is free for Game Pass, which is probably not, you're going to get about half of those Game Pass users that download and played the game through completion to come back for the expansion possibly, and those who bought it outright, probably about half of those at this point. So you're more than likely, unless the expansion comes out to be just like this super stellar, like, oh my God, you got to play it type thing, like it's a completely different game. I'm afraid you're only get half back of what you had before, if that, right? Because this isn't Outriders, unfortunately, which I think it could have been, but unfortunately wasn't. I don't think it's a super popular game, especially nowadays, like a year later. And I don't think this expansion personally is really going to help change that. So, unfortunately.
Right. Have you heard much about the expansion? Because I've not heard, and that's probably because Square Enix isn't hawking it, because they're like, hey, we haven't made money from the first game yet. We haven't recouped our money yet. So we're not,
I think
we're not going to push this one.
There was a preview on one of the sites, I think. But honestly, I just had no interest in reading about it. I mean, so whether or not it's going to be good, the quantity, the size, I mean, just rumblings that it's going to be decent and it's going to be big. So, but how much would you say it was? 35, 40? That's a lot.
I think it was going to be $35 is what I could find.
That's a lot of bank. I mean, if you bought the game new, that's $60. So you're paying just over half to play a DLC. So it's got to have, that DLC has got to have a big, heavy, long story in it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, it's showing that it's $35.99 right now on to buy it on the store. So we'll see what it comes like. Anybody else got anything else they want to chat about on this one before we sign off here?
Play Bulletstorm.
All right. Well, let us know what you think. Did you play Outriders? Did you beat Outriders? Did you try any of the end game content? What do you think? Did you, I mean, with 3.5 million unique players and who knows what percentage of those is Game Pass, I don't see how they're expecting to, I don't know how much money they poured into it, but if they've not recouped their money with that, I don't see them recouping it anytime soon. The expansion may help dig them out of this hole they're in, and maybe Square Enix will get their money back. They'll make their money they needed to, but People Can Fly still need their money, and we'll see what happens with this. So let us know. Did you play Outriders? Did you beat the game? Are you going to play the expansion? So let us know down in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to it, our channel. And then don't forget to hit that bell for notifications of all the videos that we do every week. Hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to see you in the next one.
See ya.